Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back.
Welcome to episode 8.
A lot has... Is it 8?
I think it's 8, right? Or is it
Good
7?
lordy.
It's 8, man.
I think
Sure
it's
it
8,
is.
dude.
Welcome
8
to
is
7
great.
or 8.
Welcome to an episode that we will say down here in a little bit when we know what the episode number is.
Somewhere on the spectrum.
Somewhere on the spectrum. Now with microphone condoms to avoid harsh P's when you say words with P.
We tested it, and those P's were harsh.
They were gut punch P's.
But in the defense of the microphone, you were going, pa, pa.
That's true. Blue Yeti. Sponsor us. So anyways, it's been a bit, Ash. The world has been in turmoil since we last spoke.
It's a little bit on fire.
Especially here in America.
Yeah, especially there in America, yes.
And while we cannot condone the looting, we can say proudly that both you and me are very proud supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Oh hell yeah! Where I live is in the smallest village ever, and like the next town over is so small. Like they took away all the banks from it because it's that small that no one uses them. Like that's how small it is, and even they were protesting yesterday.
That's amazing.
When I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Like this is insane because I never in a million years would have thought it would have been about Black Lives Matter because of how small this place is. I was like, even this village is getting involved. That's rad. I
think I knew that it was a long time coming and it had reached a fever pitch when I saw that Germans canceled Oktoberfest because of the coronavirus, but then still came out in hordes of thousands for Black Lives Matter. Like, what a movement that is. That's amazing.
I mean, yeah, I think that's the only downside of like the protest right now is it is bringing these crowds together. But I think people are that just shows you how passionate people are.
Yeah, they've had it.
It's just done.
So today, what are we doing, buddy? What are we talking about today? We have covered a lot in the purview of this.
The reason we want to do this is because we've answered so much so far. So we thought it'd be a good idea to do an interview of each of us, sort of to highlight the answers. Yeah. Like we might overlap. We might have already answered some of these, but they might have got lost in the shuffle.
That's true.
Of idiocy and just being knobs.
Mostly idiocy. And I think the cool thing about what we're going to be doing here is what I'm excited for doing this is that I'm excited to see two things, how many similarities there can be when you're on the spectrum with somebody, but also the best thing is how many differences there are. And it's going to be interesting because like you said, there's been so much information that we have just kind of verbally vomited on the world since starting this podcast. That I think what's going to be rad is to see now, to kind of have a space where we can lay it out clear as day, hear the answers without any other, topics. Well, I'm sure that's going to happen, but
I'm going to try and refrain from saying too much. So like when it gets to my questions, then the answers come out. But I'll engage as much as I can.
I like it. It'll give people a clearer view because I think that's something, in fact, Sarah and I were just discussing this. I think that people have so many preconceived notions, which we covered on episode, I think 4, where we talked about all the myths. They have so many preconceived notions about what autism is and what it looks like that, they just think, oh, autism is a kid sitting in the corner rocking back and forth. And they don't think that it can be very different, especially when it starts, crossing cultural boundaries and geographic boundaries. And so this is going to be cool because we're going to have a chance to see what it looks like on me. And then next week, we're going to have a chance to see what it looks like on you. And then we can see where those points converge.
It's going to be interesting.
1,000
kick it
points
off,
of light.
Right? On that topic.
Yes, sir.
In the most simple words possible.
Okay.
How would you describe autism? That's a biggie off the bat.
I know. Way to hit me like right in the gut on the start. Wow. I would see, again, this is just me speaking personally because that's all I've got. But I would say for me, autism means an overload of all sensory processing devices that leads to a challenging, that leads to a challenge to process life in an efficient and, I don't want to say sane, but sometimes I feel that way with me, in a sane way. I
I
think
get
it's just
that.
like it's an overload of all senses that make it really challenging to get through normal, like a normal day, without
Yeah.
roadblocks or hurdles.
I think we're typically overloaded.
Always.
And then there's the overwhelming, which
Mm-hmm.
takes the overloading over the edge.
It
A lot of
does.
overs. There's a lot of overs in
It's all over.
autism.
That's what we should call it. Autism, the land of overs.
There we go. Right there. What
I
would you
live in a
say?
land of overs.
That's such a nicer way
It
of
is.
putting it.
That's
It-
the best way to describe it. The land of overs.
For your overwhelmed stuff,
Yeah.
give me some common triggers that get you from this over to this over.
From over one to over two. I would say probably the most common trigger is noise.
Oh
I think it's the most readily available too. And I think our society I feel like has just gotten louder and louder and louder and louder. And I think we just now we use noise to drown out other noise. And so,
yeah.
we'll turn up the stereo when people are talking too loud, which then makes people talk too loud. So we turn up the stereo louder. And it's just this cycle. I would say, so noise probably is my first and biggest. I think sometimes it's just too noisy. And what's weird is when I use the word noise, I don't always even just mean like physical, tangible sound. I also just mean, because noise to me can mean even motion and visible things. And
Yeah.
I think noise for me just represents another over. It's just an oversaturation of everything. And I think, but I think again, the overs are what gets me. It's when there's too much, whether it's like I need to sit still for a second and I feel like everybody's moving around me and fast forward, or if
Yeah.
I just need a minute to think and I feel like everybody's talking and there's music going. And so I think those are my biggest triggers, but it can be other things too. It can be frustration. If I get frustrated, if I feel something should be working a certain way and it's just not working that
Oh,
way,
we've discussed that one, and
gosh, that
yeah.
drives me crazy. Like the other day, my mom, Sarah, and I wanted to surprise my mom. So we went to her house when she wasn't there. She bought one of those backyard garden sheds that you have to assemble yourself. And if it was made out of wood, it would have been done in 5 minutes, but it was, that really thick rubbers or plastic material. And there's
Yeah.
800 bags of screws and bolts and all this stuff. And we were going great. And then we hit this step where it was just like the drawings were so ridiculous and it was just wrong. And so I got so frustrated because I was just like, this is an easy thing and this is so stupid. Why didn't they make this better? And it just undid me. And like I wanted to just break the thing and like break the deck that it was under. And I didn't want to feel that way, but it was another over where it was just too much all
Yeah.
at once.
We had like a TV cabinet when I moved, and like literally it was one of the most complicated things to ever put together.
Yeah.
And they described it, and their instructions was 3 pictures with like 7 arrows on
Yeah.
each. And I was like, and that's now in the garage, still in pieces. It's never
Oh,
been
of
built.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
This one had this was the most ridiculous one I've ever seen. It would say use screw ADZ and then use washer GNK to put on
exactly.
KLJ. And you're like, just call it what it is. Or have a YouTube video where somebody does it for you.
Don't just
And
have
and
somebody
that's
do
coming
it
from
for
me.
you.
I can build things. And so I
Yeah.
get even more frustrated because then I'm like, I could build this out of actual wood and it would be fine. But now I'm using this lifetime plastic product. Oh my God, I was so mad.
So as we've talked about in many episodes before, what recap us on how you cope with this noise and how you cope with because obviously we know that you throw things out of windows, as Sarah says.
I do throw
If
things
you
out windows.
then you just destroy the things. But
I
what's the
do.
more healthy way that you handle
So I think I have levels of coping. I have little levels, and that can be as simple as like I always have to have Benadryl in my pocket. That's one we've talked about. Or I always have Altoids on me because
Yeah.
then breath is, I can get my breath back. Those are
Yeah.
little ways that I can cope on like a silent way when I think those are the ones, weirdly, those are the ones that are just always with me, that provide almost like a bulletproof vest. Like if I
Yes.
have those things with me, then I know I can get through certain things. But then I
Right.
would say when the noise does get to a point where I just can't handle it anymore, um, writing has always been a huge one for me. I mean, that has literally been my
Yeah.
escape for my whole life. And luckily, I'm wearing some now. Luckily, they've come up with noise canceling headphones that are
They work.
like,
I'm wearing some too. So
yeah,
it's
and they're
it's great.
inconspicuous enough that when
Mine
things
on.
get, I know
We're
you're
like
like, you're the astronaut,
exactly. That's exactly
but
what I
that
look
helps.
like.
I
Yeah,
think
I've
that
tried to
definitely
convey
helps.
it. I've tried to like put this noise into words so like everybody can understand. And it's just sort of like, all right, I don't know how to describe it. You know, it's sort of like in the autism poem I did, I think I read it last time, was like my mind is like city rush hour traffic and
Yes.
there's no Sunday morning. You know, like that's
Yeah.
the way that I
That's
but that
perfect.
noise is but I think it's louder than that still.
It is.
Like
It
it's
is.
like city rush hour traffic through like a million megaphones.
That's why I've always used,
And
especially
there's that drumming monkey.
yeah,
Yeah, you know him.
the thing that's why I've always used the analogy of the 10,000 radios, because especially with my noise,
Okay.
I've always felt like the way whenever people ask me, in fact, I just had a friend call the other day, who they think one of their kids might be on the spectrum. And I tried to explain, because for someone who doesn't have this,
Yeah.
it's a concept that is so foreign that they can't relate. And so I tried to explain, and I said, okay, this is the best way I know how to say it. Imagine that somebody put you in a room and you don't know where the exit is. All the walls look the same. You don't know where the doorknob is. You don't know where the light switch is. And once you sit down in that room, they say, we'll let you out sometime. They don't tell you when. They just say, we'll let you out sometime. And then in that room, all the walls are speakers, and there's 10,000 radios, not stereos playing music, but radios with advertisements and different genres of music and talk radio. And they're all going at the same time, all around you, even the
Yep,
floor.
that's perfect.
And then they're
Like,
like, you can get out sometime, but until then, here you go.
good luck.
That's what it feels like all the time.
Yeah.
And so if there's any way that you can cut back on that, it helps you in a way. I mean, it's hard to even quantify how much it helps you, to the point where even having the noise canceling headphones, if it gives you like 5 seconds of
Yeah.
just like airline cabin emptiness,
Do yours
I'll
take the
take it.
buzz off? So, like, say
Yeah.
if you don't play anything, if you just put them in, turn them on, does it take that static?
It sounds like you're
Just
in like
takes away
a
that a
submarine.
peaceful valley, and it sounds.
Yes. A peaceful valley through the land of overs.
So flip the script on this, right? Let's say, you woke up tomorrow and you didn't have autism anymore.
Okay.
What would you miss about it?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything, dude. I wouldn't
So
trade it.
even
I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't, as hard as it is, I really do feel like every good thing I have ever done has come from the way my brain processes the world around it. Like every good thing I've had, every good thing I've written, every good thing I've felt comes from the fact that it feels like somebody stuck a key in the senses part of my brain and just went,
yep, I get
turned
that.
it up. And I feel like if I didn't have that, I think it would literally be like if you were to, have you ever seen that movie Pleasantville?
No.
So it's a movie that like takes place in black and white, and it's like in the 50s. These people get sucked into this TV show that was like an old 50s, like Leave It to Beaver type black and white. Everybody's happy in the town,
All right.
and it's all black and white. And these kids get like somehow magically sucked into this TV show, and they're black and white and everything. And in the show, it's actually pretty timely right now too, because in the show, there's like no racial diversity. There's no sexual diversity. There's nothing. It's just this boring 1950s white suburb. And when these kids get in there, they start shaking things up by making people see that there's more ways to live and that there are more races of
Oh,
people. And as they do that, color starts coming into the world. And like, as people hit their awakenings, they become color and full color, and it's technicolor. And it's, so I feel like if I were to wake up without this, it would be like somebody took that movie and played it in backwards, and
yeah,
everything
I
would be
get.
muted, and everything would be like nothing would smell anymore and nothing would taste. Or, and I God, that's
It's
my biggest
little
fear.
things as well. Yeah, it's little things too. It's like because we're rewatching Lost,
Mm.
and like the sheer amount that I remember, like, and I've only had like 2 run throughs, and it's been years ago. But
Yeah,
like I remember lines, and I'm like saying lines right now to Sam, and she's like, "How do you remember any of this?" And I'm like, but like it's little things like that, what I'm just love, where it's
totally.
just I can where things just go into my brain without me paying attention to it,
I love that.
and it's just
The
like
same
okay,
thing happened to me just yesterday. We were watching Mindhunter on Netflix,
right.
and something happened, and they were talking about some case of some serial killer, and like they were interviewing some witness or something like that. And I literally looked at Sarah and I was like, she was in on it because of this, and this. And like a minute and a half later on the show, the character literally said everything that I said almost verbatim. And she just looked over at me and like, what are you doing? And all of those things would go away. And I would miss that. I would miss that
Yeah,
terribly.
that's a great message right there.
I think I would write poetry like some of the people that we just absolutely loathe. That's how it would be. It would be like if you just took any meaning out of my life and replaced it with just cliche. And no way. I have no
If you
interest in
couldn't,
being neurotypical.
so say no, nor do I. But
None.
they're over the spectrum. That's what I said on a comment the other day, and I was like, "That's great."
That
I
is
described all
great.
the Nero people as over.
They're way away. It's like we're in Wizard of Oz, we're in Oz, and
We're like
everybody else
all.
is at home. Everyone else lives in the black and white world of Kansas, and you and I have like, hey, we already rode the tornado. We're already in Oz, baby. We're hanging out with the Munchkins and the flying monkeys. That's a shirt.
Everything's a shirt. We need a clothing line at this rate.
We really do.
If you couldn't write poetry for a month or not take photos for a month, which one would you miss the most?
Oh man.
I think that's
I've
a
always
toughie.
that is. For me, they've always just been so married together that
Yeah.
they just finish each other's. It's like they're a married couple that have
Sentences.
just spent, yeah,
Yeah.
sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
Um, Probably the writing though, I think the
Yeah.
most. Because, excuse me, I've always felt like the photography in a lot of ways is dependent on a lot of external situations, like the
Yeah.
light and where you are, and the time of day and the weather. And photography requires a lot more. For me, the writing is something that is just always there, and it's just this world that if ever it gets too much, I can just snap my fingers and close my eyes and put on some noise canceling headphones, and I'm in that world immediately, whether it's writing on my phone or writing on a piece of paper or typing on the computer or typing on a typewriter. That world is just there for me always. And photography just requires so much more external that,
I think they collide in the sense of like they can both happen out of nowhere. Like you could literally
yeah,
just, but in order to get like the photos, you need to be going somewhere.
exactly. I
Like you
agree.
can't just be still.
Yeah,
But that's what the difference is. But they both just appear sometimes, but
they do.
one is more stagnated than the other.
I agree. Yeah, so I would miss the writing the most, I think.
Okay, let's have a look. What else we got on this lovely, lovely
Oh
list?
my gosh, I'm a little afraid.
Don't be too afraid.
I'm
It's
a
never
wee
too
bit
bad.
scared of you, man.
Right, then let's have a look.
Let's take a peek.
I got one here that simply says it's a really dumb question. Just to break it up, if you had to either be a human with the head of a dog or a dog with your human head, which one would you choose?
I would be a dog with my human head
Yeah.
because I feel like then physically I would be restricted to the life of a dog because I wouldn't have like opposable thumbs. I would be on all
Yeah.
fours. So physically I could be like, sorry guys, all I can do today is just like take a nap and go for a run. And that would be it. But then I could have all of my thoughts. So I could have like a human transcriber that I could tell everything and be like, write this down. But
You
then
could
otherwise,
totally,
yeah,
totally use a typewriter if you
I
trained enough.
could. I That's
I
probably
guess
true. If they
you could
taped
still do
little
that.
pointers onto my paws,
Yes.
yeah. But I think because if you were a human with a dog head, you'd be. I
It would
feel
still
like
be
that,
your head though. Like it would still be your head. It would just be, you know, you still be your brain.
but you would look like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather go with the dog body.
Yeah.
And because like dogs are physical specimens too. Like they don't have a lot of excess or waste. Their energy is used unless they're, like some morbidly obese Shih Tzu that, like an 80-year-old in Florida owns. Like dogs, I don't know. I feel like they're more economical with their energy use and everything. So I feel like I would be a dog body with my human head because that would be a real creepy thing though, man. Can you imagine how scary that would look?
I think you would get so bored with a dog body that you would be the most annoying dog ever.
Do you think though? Because you could jump so much better and run better. And
Yeah, it's true.
I would
It's
just be in the
true.
forest at all times, just being like, oh my God, look at this. This is amazing.
And this is something we're gonna make down the line. This is a cartoon.
We are of you and me. Here's what it'll be. It'll be me as a dog body with my face and you as a human body with a dog head.
Yeah, I love it. Let's do that.
And it'll be our adventures.
You talked a lot about like running, right? And it's
Yeah.
obvious with your guns that you like your exercise.
Not right
But
now.
not right now. Just a little. Would you say that helps with the autism a lot?
Oh my God. I
Like,
think that keeps me from going over the over, really.
okay,
I
yeah,
think, and that's something that it's been a huge part of my life for literally for no other reasons than how it makes me feel better. I don't work out to get muscles. I don't work out to look better in a swimsuit. I don't do any of those things. I work out because if I don't, I feel way over the over. And to the point where I can notice if I take a day off, I feel it and I feel my brain feels out of whack and I feel like I can't get a hold of things. And so I haven't ever really mentally dove into this as to why that is. I don't know if it's that the physical exercise exhausts me a little bit and so it kind of takes that edge off or what. Like a little kid before bedtime where they're like, God, go run around the house. You're too much. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But it makes me feel so much better that it literally just takes the entire edge off for me. And it's been something that I can't imagine not. I mean, to the point where when we did the renovation on this house, everybody thought I was insane because I don't know how many square feet that room is. It's probably a 20 by or maybe like a 30 by 15-foot room, which is a ton of real estate. And it is just a gym. And everyone's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? That could be a bedroom. That could be an office. It's the best light in the house. And I was like, I know, I have to have that. And it was like, that was the reason why, I mean, that was one of the key reasons why I even did the renovation at all was I knew I needed a place where every single day I could go without having to get in a car and drive, without having to worry about weather or anything like that I could just disappear and feel better. And I have a lot of different ways of doing that. I box in there. I lift weights to the point where I feel like I'm going to die. I run until I have passed out. I've done
I
all of
know
those
this.
things. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's all for the mental reason. It has nothing to do, I mean, the physical is a good side effect of that, but honestly, it's just for mental reasons. I can't imagine not doing it.
yeah, because I know you're into that a lot.
And again, it's like,
You even pulled me into the ship.
and now you're seeing, how it
I am.
feels.
I'm getting into it. I'm getting
I
there.
see your guns, man. You're wearing the 90s outfit right
Uh,
now, but I see the guns.
like this. like a proper short
Look at you,
sleeve. And
man.
I tell you, I put this on accidentally the other day, like this style. I was like, oh my god, this is what I'm wearing forever.
You're like, hey, Chandler Bing from Friends. I'm coming
How
at you.
how far away? Chandler, why am I Chandler of all people?
Because didn't he always wear like, he was like the 90s dresser. He always wore the
That's
bowling
true.
shirts
That's
and all
true.
that stuff.
Yeah. Do you know how long we're in this?
Um, I want to say like 23 minutes, maybe.
All right, so let's just do a
We're doing
couple.
good, man.
Let's do a couple quick fires, and then we
Let's
can
do a couple.
actually end one on like half hour, maybe
Exactly.
even early,
Oh my
which would
goodness
be oh my god,
gracious.
which would be the craziest thing in the world.
Well, that would be under the over.
I know the answer because you spoiled it. But what is your favorite smell?
Rubbing alcohol. I have.
He's got it on. He's got it on there. Right.
Oh
That's
my
how we
God.
get through the day.
Pure rubbing alcohol. I don't know what it is. That smell above all other smells is like when the coronavirus happened, obviously I was devastated and sad and worried for the world. But there was also this
Yeah.
part of me that was like, hand sanitizer all day. Yes, please. Someone was like,
I
oh,
love
whoops,
that.
I touched that doorknob.
You're just there all day. Just
Yep. Just
that's
oh,
why there's a shortage.
and get this, I'm gonna do a little plug right now. My brother-in-law and my sister, they work at this distillery called Dry Fly Distilling in Spokane. And when the coronavirus really got ramping up, they switched all of their gear over to make hand sanitizer. And
Oh,
they
awesome.
they sent us and brought some of, they call it Spokaneitizer. They make it in their same stills that make their whiskey and their vodka. So it smells like rubbing alcohol with a hint of like whiskey flavor. And it smells so good. You spray it on your
You
hands
need that.
and you're just like, oh my God, I don't even know what it is, but yeah, rubbing alcohol. That's the long way around to that answer.
I actually want hand sanitizer that smells like whiskey now. That's like,
I know.
thanks to your wonderful friend Edgar, I know how like 75 whiskeys smell.
That's true. The
He
classic
literally
laddie.
would buy one and he'd be like, smell this. I'm like, all right.
Oh,
What is
Lord.
the weirdest texture that you can think of? Because texture's a big thing to me.
Oh, texture's huge for me.
Do you know, like cotton sheets? I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But like,
Weird
there's some shirts
texture.
I have that have just got a little bit naughty, and then they rub
Yeah.
on my neck, and it's a little bit
Oh,
weird.
man. Wait, weird texture.
Yeah.
One of the most pleasant textures I've ever experienced was Sarah and I were at this aquarium, and there was a moon jelly petting tank where you could pet these moon jellyfish, and they would swim up to you, and you could like hold your hands over their little moon membranes, and it was the most pleasing feeling ever because it felt like soft water in water. Like there was a difference.
I love that answer. The moment you said the nicest texture I've ever felt, I was expecting something completely dirty.
Well, hey.
So like, but you're weird.
Maybe
I don't know.
that
Like,
might be one of the weirdest though, because in the pleasing way though, I think at
yeah.
first I thought my
Doesn't have to
answer
be
was going to go
bad.
towards a negative, but I think that was one of the most weirdly pleasing sensations I've ever had.
Flip it on the smell. What is the worst smell that just unravels you?
The worst smell.
That is different.
I hate the smell this is weird. When you're washing dishes, if you're using hot water to wash dishes and you wash off either mustard or peanut butter off of a plate and it makes those two things be hot, the smell of
Yeah.
hot peanut butter or hot mustard.
I
Oh,
cannot stand ketchup smell.
oh, that's a good one too. I agree with
I
that
just
one.
can't. That's like top tier, like top three for me.
See, hot peanut butter is that for me.
I have never smelled hot peanut butter, but you totally
Well,
just like.
bleh, no,
We
don't
got to where I
ever.
want to. We've broken you. So
You've done. It's like the toothbrush thing. If somebody brushed their teeth with hot peanut butter, I would probably spontaneously combust.
So, like, as you covered it earlier, right? When you said that you wouldn't get rid of it, you keep all of it. To make it more specific, if you could give somebody one of your symptoms for a day to be like, hey, here's
Okay.
this. Look how awesome it is.
Oh, look how awesome it is.
Yeah. To be like, hey, look how awesome it is. What would you give them?
I think I would give them the way that my brain handles things that other people call ordinary or mundane or boring. I think that's what I would give them, because I think that's been the key for me for so much of the creativity that comes out of me, is that I look at something that maybe 100 people would see as boring or ordinary, and something about my brain looks at it and goes, oh, but wait, that's the thing. And I think that I would give that to somebody and be like, watch how your life changes when you look around and everything becomes a little miracle. Like, watch how your life changes.
Yeah.
And that's why, honestly, that's why that book, Miracle in the Mundane, that's where that came from. Was I think there are ways to practice that, and I think there are ways that you can achieve it if it's not coming to you natural, and that's where that came from. I want people to feel that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
I get that too. Sav just screamed mid-sentence while you were saying that. Oh my god, there's an ice cream truck. I need all the money.
Hey,
And
well,
I don't know, like...
the girl knows
but
what she
said
likes.
But she sort of said it in a way that she's going to go and ransack it and take all his money. And I was like, what is happening?
You're gonna see on the news tonight, local
Then all I
ice
heard
cream truck.
all I heard was my mom just shout, go. And I was like, what?
Get out there, go.
Like, are they
They
robbing
probably
the
have like a
truck together?
covert. Yeah, they have a covert op right now. You're gonna go down there and they're both gonna be wearing masks and like squirt guns.
Gonna have a new ice cream machine.
Oh, you're gonna have a whole truck parked outside. There's gonna be some guy tied up with the wrappers of old licorice ropes.
I was like, I was gone for half hour.
We did one episode.
I'm gonna leave it there because I think that's a good time, man. But I will finish it by reading your poem, that because we said episodes ago
We did do
that we were gonna write a poem.
Oh man, I've been more excited for this to hear this than just about anything else.
I tried to keep it relatively short and it didn't work.
Okay.
But it is sort of short.
All right.
I think it's complimenting. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't even care if it was the meanest poem that's ever been written. I don't think anybody's ever directly written a poem about me.
One of the outtakes of the lines was Tyler doesn't like chocolate and he might be the devil. So I didn't manage to fit it in.
You're not wrong about that. Both parts of that sentence.
Yeah, hold on.
Are they still yelling about ice cream?
Yeah.
She's like,
Definitely.
I've got 3 fudgesicles and an orange cone. I love it.
I don't know what is. There's so much noise. I don't know what happened. The whole house erupted.
Thank God for the headphones.
But anyway.
She's shouting over the headphones.
Can you hear her?
She's like so loud about the ice cream right now.
No, it's gone.
I don't know I've ever heard her be as passionate about anything else.
I just don't know what happened. And it was so hard to remain focused.
You did
and
what
usually,
you did good.
When I say to her, I'm gonna go record the podcast, she's like Sergeant Silence. Like she keeps the house in lockdown.
Quiet as a titmouse.
She literally, like, someone drops something, she's there going. Whoosh.
Today though, all bets are off.
But that ice cream is just right.
Much.
Anyway,
All
I didn't give her a proper name. Oh wait, there. Hold on. Is there an ice? Yeah. Thank you so much. This is like the best timing ever.
Oh,
it was an ice
my
cream
God.
Thank you.
What a sweetheart. What is that? Is that a
I
chocolate straw?
Find it.
It's like a flake.
Oh my goodness
Thank
gracious.
You. This is like the
This is the best segue ever. What a serendipitous ending.
Right, I'm gonna read this poem before I get more distracted while holding the ice cream.
I love it.
Tyler doesn't know the meaning of a soft landing. He is nosedive onto tarmac at light speed. He is the escape lever stiff from overuse. He is a Swiss cheese parachute squeezing as much life into every second before the splat. He's a surround sound man who knows only how to love at full volume. Tyler is 25 dick jokes a minute, and that's not including the ad breaks. Tyler is 6 tons of just so you're not there, fair enough. Tyler is 6 tons of passion in a flannel shirt, and persistence doesn't travel far behind. He is A to B without the zigzag, an arrow cutting through the cloth of clutter with no time for sugarcoating. Tyler is comprised purely of protein and poultry, and his stomach is like a washing machine on LSD. He is an acid trip man with thoughts fast enough to leave a tornado dizzy, with enough vocabulary to build bridges or burn them. Listen, Tyler is an advol in a game of rock, paper, scissors, and the collision of ladle and pan in a library at peak hours. But Tyler's also the ripple on the water, whispering to the wave and teaching it of stillness. Tyler is a lot of things, but the one I am most proud of is that I get to call him brother.
Jesus, dude.
Dropped it like it's hot. Now I'm going to cool off.
This is going to be the first tears on an episode of our podcast. That honestly, God, I honestly am not kidding you. I don't think anybody's ever written a poem for me, about me, ever in my life. Should. But I mean, I honestly don't think that's ever happened. And like, you fucking nailed it, man.
Now you got to come back strong. It's like a rap battle.
Man. As you've seen when we were in the Lake District, when it comes to rap lyrics, I am not one to be trifled with. Unlike Sav and Sarah, who had arguably the worst rap lyrics I've ever heard in my life.
And I still got beat by them because I was definitely outvoted.
Yeah, that was not very fair.
I don't know how that happened.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for that. That was unbelievable, man.
I loved writing that because it just came to me. I was like, I got this.
The moment
you said it, I was like, I got this.
I've got yours too in my brain. I just haven't had 5 minutes to scrawl it out on paper yet. But next week we get to hear yours.
Oh, I can't wait. You're gonna have to write it in the ground with a shovel.
You said you had an outtake line. I have an outtake line of yours.
Hit me while I eat my ice cream.
So this is an outtake line that came to my brain, and maybe it'll find its way into the final. But so it's something, and then this is like a middle of a sentence thought, but it said, and refuses to let himself become the only sad unicorn you'll ever hear about.
That should just be the poem. That should be the central point. Do you know what else I love before we shut this down? It's like, no matter what happens, we get to a certain point of the episode where it just gets weird.
It does, and we're there.
And like, this is just evidence.
It hit it.
The physical evidence.
I think that's a perfect place to end this.
Yeah, it is. It was being fantastic.
All right, brother. Well,
I look forward to next week.
I can't wait, man. And we'll have the one and only interview of Ashley, and it will be spellbinding and informative.
It's gonna be a beautiful car wreck.
It is. I can't even wait to get going on it. All right, brother. Well, everybody knows what to do. Click the things.
Yep, there, all around.
You do. Actually, let's ask a favor. If you're watching this, share it with people. That's what we need more than anything. Like, more than even comments right now. What we need is for people to share this for other people that they might think could benefit from this. So if you're watching, share it, because that alone will transform what we're doing into two weird people talking to each other across the ocean to a very helpful endeavor.
And it would when they get the technology, I'll figure out a way to send everyone ice cream.
And except for me, because my stomach is a washing machine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, brother.
We'll see you next week.
See everybody next week.